Mississippi's trusted weather experts. This is Mississippi Live Weather at 5.
Welcome into Mississippi Live Weather at 5. I'm meteorologist Gabe Maynor, and we start our broadcast with a look at the multitude of storm reports that we had here in North Mississippi as strong, severe, and tornadic storms moved across the area. The National Weather Service in Memphis reporting that an EF1 tornado touched down up there in Alcorn County. Our chief meteorologist Matt Lopon joins us in Alcorn County to talk the latest on that damage.
Pleasant Hill Pentecostal Church in the Corinth-Kossuth area, where residents feel thankful to be alive after last night's storm moved through the area. You can see where the roof there peeled off in part, and then this insulation strewn out here into the parking lot, a sign obviously of the strong winds. Parts of that roof carried back here against the building. The pastor here at the church in his home when it moved through the area certainly said a scary situation, but they of course had someone to lean on.
Normally, when this happens, I think, oh, it's not gonna hit us. You know, it's gonna do what it does and move on. This time, for whatever reason, I had just this odd feeling that it was getting really close, and so we were a little panicked, but we still had a peace. We had a little moment of prayer in the hallway, and thankfully the Lord kept His hand on us.
One of the reasons I believe this could be tornado damage, if you look behind me there, not just that tin that is in the trees that's kind of pushed back there, but that tree itself pointed back that direction. And if we look just into this wooded area here, some trees that are kind of pushed from, I guess, that direction, kind of from more of a westerly direction. The fact that those are somewhat convergent, somewhat coming together, one of the signs that this could be tornado damage again, but certainly a situation that everyone here feels thankful could have been worse and was not. From the Pleasant Hill Pentecostal Church near the Corinth area, I'm Chief Meteorologist Matt Lopon from Mississippi Live Weather.
And our thoughts and prayers are with those that have been impacted, not just in Alcorn County, but all across North Mississippi. And we'll take a detailed look at those reports coming up later in the broadcast. What we're going to look at now is the headline for tonight. Freeze warnings in effect, meaning that cold air that you felt all throughout your Monday continues to stick around throughout your Monday night and gets even worse by Tuesday morning. We'll track the latest on those temperatures, and saying that, a few flurries are not impossible. We're going to look at some of those impacts that they had over in Alabama, my family included, of just what those flurries amounted to. But here in North Mississippi, no accumulation is expected, but we are not saying that a flurry can't be ruled out. And we're gradually warming throughout this week, so if you're not of the cold or you went ahead and planted those gardens, you don't have to blanket them for much longer, but for sure for tonight, as those freeze warnings remain in effect, expiring Tuesday around noon. I don't expect those to continue beyond Tuesday because of that warming trend, but nonetheless, it's going to be a cold night, and frigid conditions just get even more frigid by Tuesday morning. The first 12 are 42 by 6. 35 there by 9. There's that 10% that we're talking about with, again, a few flakes, not impossible, but still no accumulation here in North Mississippi. That is a definite positive thing to take when we're looking at the first 12. 31 already below freezing by midnight, and 25 degrees heading out the door by tomorrow morning. And on top of that, it is going to be a bit of a wind chill as well. Look at this temperature change. Just unreal. Seeing a 30-degree difference, not just in one spot, but all across North Mississippi. Normally, I'd say this is an error in data, but I can guarantee you this is not an error at all. We were sitting in the 80s yesterday. Things change, and they have done exactly that for the start of the work week. Temperatures right now still in the upper 30s for Tupelo, Boonville, and New Albany. We're 40 Water Valley, 47 Greenwood and Greenville, and only going down from there. Feels like values already feeling below freezing in Tupelo, in the upper 20s, Boonville, Iuka, and Corinth, as well as towards Holly Springs. And again, just going down overnight. Let's go ahead and look at an expanded look here real quick and see that cold front continuing to move off there towards the east coast, up the Atlantic coast. Still a few tornado watches in there because of that strong front that's allowing for some of those severe storms to be in place. But nonetheless, that threat has shifted away from us. But some of this wraparound moisture, that's what we're getting right now here in North Mississippi. And that's why we're getting a few of these potential flakes, potential light showers, but nonetheless not going to be overly impactful and not adding any accumulation totals to us here in North Mississippi. High pressure driving our forecast moving forward. That's going to cycle in some of that drier air and also cycle in that cooler air, hence why temperatures are what they are tonight. But we can see how that front kind of works its way up there towards the Atlantic Ocean. Not going to play a part in our forecast much longer, but some of those blues, some of that wraparound moisture like we talk about once again, moving into potentially the far northeast corner of North Mississippi and towards northwest Alabama. As we carry that over towards our Tuesday morning, those chances fizzle on out and we're going to be left with dry conditions for the start of our Tuesday. But dry coming at a cost with temperatures being what they are. We're 25 degrees heading out the door tomorrow morning. Still that 5-mile-an-hour wind going to be dropping those feels like values. As the day goes on, we top out in the upper 40s, so still pretty cool throughout the day. So keep that jacket on standby. You will need it morning and afternoon. But beyond that, things do get better. And that's one of the things we're talking about here in the next 60 seconds is a look at that extended temperature forecast. Things do warm up and also what to expect with some of those activities happening throughout this week. We're going to be looking at that in much more detail live here from the Room to Room Weather Center as Mississippi Live Weather at 5 continues after the break.
When C.K. Little opened his doors in downtown Corinth nearly 80 years ago, his plan was simple: deliver excellent service and exceed expectations. That's why we say a little gift goes a long way.
Look at Wanda, ready to rock her big presentation. But first, lunch. Sweet Pepper's Deli. Delicious, celebratory, but is it quick? The Cobb salad. Tender oven roasted chicken, topped with cheese. Prepared, plated, and served? In 6 minutes? Is this for real? Well, of course. Well done, Wanda. Sweet Pepper's Deli. Yes, ma'am. Life is sweet.
I felt accomplished after I got my diploma. Made me feel that I could take on whatever challenges life throws at you.
Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org.
Right now, from the Room to Room Weather Center, here's meteorologist Gabe Maynor.
There's some of that sunshine peeking on through, but you can see breezy conditions continue to dominate the Tupelo area. 39 degrees, but dew point at 19 degrees. Folks, it was in the mid-60s yesterday, so not only are those temperatures dropping, so are those dew points, meaning drier air is the theme. Our Mitchell Cunningham and Bowling bringing us this shot out there in the Tupelo area. Big shout out to them as that camera was pretty active last night tracking those conditions and some of those stronger storms. Batesville, a bit calmer, 41 degrees, wind still out of the northwest at about 10 miles an hour. Dew point, even lower than 19, we're 14 degrees. So folks, it is a very dry forecast, and that dry air allowing for those cold temperatures to move in as well in Panola County. Starkville, this is looking out there towards the west. This is 41 degrees, feeling like 35, so there's a little bit of that wind chill already taking shape, and dew point around 19 degrees. So everywhere you look, dry and cold. But some locations, we are actually getting a little bit of that moisture. As we can see right here, some of this moisture, this wraparound moisture moving into North Mississippi. And while it is green, not impossible to get a couple flakes out of this. And folks over there towards Russellville, I'm curious if we have anyone in the chat that can confirm if any flakes are reaching the surface. But on our Mama Justice Doppler radar saying it's not impossible to get those flakes reaching the ground. But fortunately, no accumulation. That is a positive with how things have gone so far. As we look at some of our totals over the past 12 hours, we know it was a soggy night last night, but we did have a few showers this morning that were trying to stick around, but only trace amounts. Where the accumulation actually happened, and I do have confirmed reports from this because it was my family over in Birmingham. Looking at some of those snowfall totals, they were saying, Gabe, there's a couple of flurries. Well, a couple flurries turned into a little bit of a accumulation there on the surface and on the yards, and the cars were basically about an inch falling there. So that's kind of that stripe you see right there. That was where we had more of that significant snowfall and also some of that, some of the colder air, hence why it was able to stick around. But here in North Mississippi, I didn't get much of anything. Maybe a little bit of a dusting in spots, but honestly, that might be overdoing it as everyone in North Mississippi not reporting anything on their grounds. That's a good thing. We've had our fair share of winter weather. We don't don't need any more. But winter is still making its impacts with the air. As you can see, temperatures are falling. Freeze warning in effect until Tuesday at noon, and that is going to mean that our plants that we planted, unfortunately, going to be susceptible to those cold temperatures. And yeah, it's just not exactly going to be the ideal spring state of mind. And pipes, yeah, they need to be taken care of as well. Maybe doing a drip tonight to accommodate for some of these bitter cold temperatures. Or 40 degrees by 7, 35 by 9, and freezing temperatures by 11 o'clock. Those clear skies allowing this heat to escape, the little amount of heat that we've gotten today, and that's going to leave us with some of those colder temperatures by tomorrow morning. Now, there's where those flakes could potentially happen. This is why we only did 10%, very minimal coverage in our area, but not impossible to see a few flakes up there towards Franklin County, Alabama, Tishomingo County in the far northeast corner of Mississippi, and same thing for Alcorn and Prentice County. But again, no accumulation. I want to emphasize that time and time again because we are not expecting that with this setup. I know my parents are watching this saying, well, what about us? Well, maybe a little bit, but it's not like what you guys had last night. As we take a look more towards your Tuesday morning, still going to be clear, going to be dry, going to be a beautiful start to our Tuesday if you're inside. Because outside, you have to deal with this bitter cold. We're 23 in Oxford, Water Valley, Grenada, Eupora, 25 Starkville and Columbus, and 26 in Aliceville. I mean, our high temperature on this map is 28 degrees, and we are in the middle of March by now. This air shouldn't be here, but it is still late winter, so I guess it's trying to make its impacts felt. And wind chill going to be dropping those even more with teens showing up in Columbus, Vernon, Tupelo, Boonville, Corinth, Iuka. Yeah, several locations showing those bitter cold temperatures and that bitter cold feels like value. So 24 degrees at pickup. Honestly, it could be even lower than that for how it feels outside. 49 by drop-off, so it does get better by the afternoon. We do expect that sunshine to make more of an appearance throughout our Tuesday, and that's one positive with this setup, but nonetheless, it's going to be cold all day long. So while you get those jackets ready early in the morning, just be aware you're probably going to be wearing that during that afternoon commute as well. You can see that sunshine just sticking around all afternoon long. Going to be a beautiful sight out there before some of those thin clouds do try to move into our area by 5, 6 o'clock on your Tuesday evening. Now, no rain. I guess I should say no snow going to be attached to those clouds, but nonetheless, it is still going to be resulting in a little bit of a haze there in the sky. We're at 51 in Houston, 49 Tupelo, 45 in Red Bay, 50 Belzona, Greenwood, and Louisville, so not topping out very high. So if you're heading off to any of our baseball games Tuesday night, as Bulldogs take on Jackson State, it is going to be a cold one, so make sure to wear an extra layer or, make sure to cover the legs. Don't wear shorts to this game. We're 50 degrees first pitch, 48 by fourth inning, and 43 towards the final out. That should say something. If I'm saying don't wear shorts and I'm the king of wearing shorts when it's terribly cold, you probably shouldn't. And as we take a look over there for Ole Miss taking on Austin Peay, it's going to be first pitch at 46, but by that final out, 41 degrees. I mean, it's a 4 o'clock first pitch. It's just going to be colder and colder if that game gets later and later. So hopefully we can wrap it up in 7 innings and call it a day by then. Beyond that, as we track our Tuesday night, you can see some of this moisture does try to move into our area. Now, this is our strike model, but the HRRR model showing that as well. So I have a few light showers possible for the start of our Wednesday morning. So if you're heading out on that morning commute, don't be shocked at all if you have to crank the windshield wipers a bit if you're driving along Highway 6 or along the northern part of I-55. Low temperatures, it's going to be cold, but where that moisture is setting up, it's going to be above freezing. So I'm not expecting flakes with this setup, but it will be a light, cold rain. 35 Senatobia, 39 Clarksdale and Cleveland, whereas where it's drier, we're talking 32 Tupelo, 31 Starkville, 31 Macon, 30 in Columbus. So it's going to be cold, or it's going to be less cold, but with some rain. And wind chill, not going to be adding much to that as those winds do calm up a bit as those rain chances do move in. So tracking the rest of that out throughout your Wednesday morning, you can see how that light to moderate showers, those light to moderate showers work their way through North Mississippi, lingering there by lunchtime, but never really gets intense. So we're not tracking any storms, any strong storms, and definitely no severe storms. So we're not adding to those storm reports that we had on our Sunday, and that's a positive heading into this setup. Now, breezy conditions start to build in there towards the south and west, and as these winds start to shift to more of a southerly flow, that's going to return the warmer air by the time we get towards our, not really Wednesday afternoon, but more towards our Thursday, Friday, and into the weekend. So there is a positive to look forward to, and it's that temperature trend, a literal positive temperature trend as we do trend warmer by the end of the week. But Wednesday stays dry in the afternoon, but still going to be right below our normal average for this time of year. We're 62 in Tupelo, 63 Columbus, we're 65 Belzona, 63 Clarksdale, Tunica, and 62 around South Haven. So that 7-day forecast, I told you things were warming up as we get more towards our Thursday. We're 74 degrees by the afternoon, but those start temperatures get better as well. We're 41 degrees. That's going to feel much better than what we'll have for our Tuesday, a 17-degree change actually. By Friday, we're going to be in the low 50s in some spots to start the day, and into the weekend, we're in the mid-50s with plenty of sunshine Saturday and Sunday. Plenty of warm air as we're in the low 80s, so any plans that you may have need to be outside. I say that often when we're facing a pretty good setup, and I will say we're facing a good setup into this weekend. Should be a phenomenal forecast we can look forward to, but don't let me jump over the fact that we're dealing with freeze warning tonight. That is still the big story. That is still what we're going over in more detail coming up tonight. As we go into our 6 o'clock broadcast, we're talking the latest on the freeze warning. It is technically a freeze warning. Freeze warning, what that means for us, what those temperatures are like, how that's trending. But we're also taking a detailed look at those storm reports, as we did get a large amount of reports from Sunday, including some of our look-ins there with our chief meteorologist, Matt Lawpon. He continues his coverage in Alcorn County. We see where he's headed to next for those damage reports coming up tonight at 6. So make sure to download that Mississippi Live Weather app. And if you do have any reports yourself, send in that report through the Mississippi Live Weather app, and we will forward that to the National Weather Service. Again, they went out and did the surveys for where you guys reported the damage, and that was a big thank you to all of your hard work out there, keeping everyone updated and informed, and it's helped make that coverage with the National Weather Service and our coverage here at Mississippi Live Weather that much better. So our weather watchers out in the field, we cannot thank you enough. But make sure to tune in, weather watchers and everyone else here in North Mississippi, to our 6 o'clock broadcast. Again, going over those storm reports in more detail, hopefully getting a track on that tornado that moved through Alcorn County as well. That all coming up tonight at 6, and later on at 10, we're talking more details on that freeze warning as that cold air moves in real time. Yeah, join me. It's going to be a cold one. Layer up. It should be a good one nonetheless. We'll see you tonight at 6 and 10 for the latest on what's happening.
Growing up, Gabe was naturally curious. When he began to discover weather, Gabe just didn't want to know what was happening, but he wanted to know why it was happening. Gabe became fascinated with tornadoes, and it impacted his life. He wanted to pursue a career in meteorology. Even though Gabe grew up in Alabama, Mississippi has now become his home and his family. And one thing about Gabe is he keeps his family safe.